Hello, I am Sergeant First Class Brian Stoa. I am one of the Reserve Ops NCOs for the Oklahoma State Recruiting Battalion. Welcome to this continued series on Army Reserve programs and training. Today's training is on the alternate training program, which is one of the many great options and opportunities that someone has when enlisting into the Army Reserve. References for this training are going to be in AR 61210. That's going to be in chapters 2, chapters 5 and 9, UR 61210, Appendix J, and then your current USREC message. When it comes to alternate training program, a new USREC message is published each year, usually sometime at the end of August to the beginning of October. So be on the lookout each year for that for current processing needs. Right. So what's this program all about? The big thing about this program is it allows an Army Reserve applicant to break up their basic training and their AIT into two separate time periods. So this works great, opens up a new market for juniors in high school, but also works great for seniors that don't want to miss any college students, seasonal workers, and the like. It's only 4 MOSs that have an AIT of less than 13 weeks. That official list will come out in that USREC message each year. Enlistment period is going to be for 6 years or more. They cannot enlist into an MOS with an ASI. So someone looking at 91 Bravo can't take the Hotel 8 ASI, or 74 Delta can't take the Lima 4 ASI if they're trying to join some BIDS unit. The only time this doesn't apply is for someone who is enlisting into the Army Reserve Band, because those ASIs are for a particular instrument. Technically, they already have that ASI because they know how to play the instrument. So that's the only one where it's not applicable. They cannot be promoted to E2 until 180 days after basic training. This doesn't apply for someone who is getting promoted in 2-18 of AR 61210 through the BTTL or referral or something like that. It's just the automatic promotions for having 6 months time and grade. So someone who enlists in October isn't going to be automatically promoted in March. Now, I know I've heard of some units just doing it anyway. Technically, they're not supposed to by regulation, so understand that. AIT must be scheduled within 6 months of return. So when they come back from basic training, recruiters, you got to get that DD Form 220, which is the report used showing that they graduated basic training, or an ATARS report showing that they went to basic training, to the Reserve Ops NCO so that they can pull the next edition of training. Big thing here, people enlist under this program must ship to basic training within 270 days. So once you figure out when they can actually leave for basic training, you're going to back that up 9 months, and then that's when they would be eligible for enlistment. They're only allowed to be paid for 9 months worth of battle assemblies, so the 36 unit training assemblies, as you see there on the slide. And they have to attend AIT within 1 year of basic training graduation. All right, so the process. All right, so we know they have to be at least a high school junior. They got to be 17 years old at the time of enlistment. High school senior, college student, seasonal worker. So you need documentation one way or the other to prove what category they might fit in. They're high school juniors and college students. They can ship within 7 days, no earlier than 7 days at the completion of their school year. Got to wait 14 days for high school seniors, and then the seasonal workers, it just varies based on what their letters may say. The big thing here is they got to have 11 weeks in between the end of school or whatever it is, and then the beginning of whatever starting. So the next school season, next school year, or whatever the case may be. So there's got to be 11 weeks in there. So on that letter, you have to have an MRD, or a mandatory return date, that no later than date that they have to be back. Big thing here, always a little bit of confusion when it comes to a junior in high school's letter or a CHIS letter. You have to have the end of their junior year, the start and end of their senior year, an expected graduation date. I know not every year that they know the exact date, but roughly what do they expect it to be. Um, Confirmation of how many days can be missed without penalty. So a few years ago, it was put in there 2 weeks, or how many weeks they can miss. The current guidance is how many days specifically. Can they miss 5 days? Can they miss 4 days at the end of their junior year and 5 days at the beginning of their senior year? Whatever the case may be, it needs to be specific of how many days that can be missed. And then the parent letter to match. If one is less than the other, they're going to go with the one that's more strict. So keep that in mind when processing. Right, some of the benefits to the recruiter going after this market, especially with juniors in high school, they're fresh, untapped leads. They haven't been called 100 times. They haven't been messaged 100 times. They're fresh. I mean, it's a new approach, new people to talk to. Very limited service penetration. As of this training, it's only the Army Guard and Army Reserve that does any type of alternate training program and can actually enlist a junior in high school into a service. The applicants commit very easily for this program. And the reason I believe this, my professional opinion, is that when you present the alternate training program to them, at no part does it really get in the way of their plans. Generally, the people we're talking to want to continue their education in some way, shape, or fashion. They want to start on time with their peers. They don't want to wait. And start in the spring semester. They want to start in fall with all their friends. So when you present the alternate training program, it doesn't get in their way. So it makes them more apt to do it. Also, when you're talking specifically to the junior population, there's just less pressure on them to make decisions for the rest of their life. Senior in high school is under a tremendous amount of pressure, whether it's perceived pressure, actual pressure, to make decisions that affect the rest of their life. Juniors haven't really got to that point yet, so it's easier to get them to decide. They count as a senior for contracting purposes. So if you're mission to senior, but you write a junior, it's one and the same. Big one here is it puts an actual soldier in your high school for your senior year. So you're going to have that kid come back from basic training wearing their basic training t-shirt, their basic training sweatshirt, carrying around their basic training bag, maybe wearing their PTs to school or their OCPs to school. Maybe they put on their dress uniform for certain things. It's going to be that influence there all the time. And they're going to be talking to their friends as seniors in high school about what the Army Reserve did, what basic training was like, and hopefully dispel a lot of myths for you and help you expand your market going into the next year. Benefits for the applicant. It's a jump start on their military career, because the day that somebody enlists into the Army Reserve, they have assessed into the military. So that means someone who enlists as a junior in October of their junior year, they've already started their military career. Their time has started. Their pantry base date has already started. So that just means retirement comes that much quicker. Training complete in time to start college. I mentioned it a few times, but this is you can't overemphasize this for parents and for the applicant alike. That's important to them that they get there in that fall semester. We might know as recruiters, like that's not, in our college education, it's really not that important, but it's important to them. So it's something that we can continue to highlight. And they increase their odds tremendously of getting some sort of scholarship, whether ROTC or Minuteman scholarship, because they're a qualified soldier, right? They've already went to basic training. They've already taken a physical. They've passed both, passed a PT test. They show the commitment to the military. So it increases our odds of those types of things. One thing too, they make much better money than they would staying at home. They're going to be fighting every other person to get that summer job at the grocery store. They're going to make just a lot more money, $3,500 plus, for a couple months. So that's something you can highlight. They can do harder work if they wanted to, but this is there's more than just a job here, right? We know that they're going to, build life skills. So, something to highlight there as well. Introduction to the real world. For a lot of these kids, I mean, they just want to try so hard to prove that they're growing up right and make grown up decisions. Highlight the fact that that basic training is that introduction to the real world and how much it's going to prepare them for getting into college, how much discipline and that sort of thing. Becoming a member of a team. For those of you that haven't done research on Generation Z, and the way they think, or even the millennials, both those generations really want to do things as a team, believe in teamwork. So highlight that fact of how basic training, brings a team together. They'll be able to learn a lot of those things. And then almost 2 years of non-deployable time. So someone who enlists sometime in their junior year, they're non-deployable. They go to basic training, still non-deployable through their senior year. It's not until they actually earn that MOS through AIT that they're actually on the books for deployment. And that puts a lot of parents at ease, knowing that their kid's going to be safe for a certain amount of time. All right, so my best way to get after this market, or the junior market, that I found is from presentations. I always found it easy when I went into a high school. I might have been trying to get in front of a senior class and present to the seniors, and that was always difficult. It's like teachers always kind of block that, but getting in front of a junior class seemed relatively easy. Whether that they wanted those guys to get some extra exposure, to figure out what they want to do for the rest of the year or rest of their life, or they just felt like that was a safer bet because they didn't think you were going to be able to do anything with a junior in high school. I don't know, but I always found it easier to get in front of them. So how I do it, give some sort of junior presentation, whether it be specifically about the Army or whatever the case may be. I'd use a presentation card similar to like this, where I would get their age, grade and age and that sort of stuff put together. Just real simple, not collecting too much data to where it would be a cause for concern from the school teachers. As you see here, the most interesting part of the program, that's going to be the hook. So whatever they write there, obviously you want to bring that up when you make the appointment. Spend more time on whatever the case may be. Okay, so spend more time on that when you're actually conducting the appointment. Spend less time. That could be their objection or just the things they're not interested in. So stay away from that during the appointment. And then they're going to give you enough information here. And what I would always do is I'd figure out when they're going to turn 17. I'd go into my Outlook calendar and I would put it in their birthday, and I'd put all this information with a 30-day out reminder. So that 30 days prior to their 17th birthday, I'd get their little reminder that morning when I came into the office, to give them a call, make the appointment, and start the process, because 30 days prior to them turning 17 is when you can obtain the parental consent and start making your way to enlistment. It's not the only technique out there, but it's one that I found to be very effective. The more junior presentations that you can do, the more your Outlook calendar is going to be filled out, and it's just a better benefit for you. Based on the current USREC message, because these are all the MOSs that are approved for enlistment in the alternate training program. I get asked this question a lot, like, hey, Soren, why can't we do 68 whiskey, or why can't we do one of these other MOSs that aren't on here? What's the big deal? They're only going to basic training, AITs after they've graduated. Well, the big deal is this. You're generally, this program's designed to get them back in time. So as it was said in earlier slides, stuff under 13 weeks to make sure they can get back. The other part to this is that these MOSs don't require a high school diploma, so that if that person doesn't graduate from high school, the unit can still ask to retain them, send them to AIT, and they still keep the person that they've been investing in for the last year and a half. So that's where that comes into play. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick class. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to hit me up on email, brian.j.stoa.mill@mail.mil. Hopefully I'll be able to help you out. Um, you know, thanks for your time.